Studies show the average person has over 6,000 thoughts per day. That's not the problem. The problem is that for overthinkers, a significant portion of those thoughts are about the same thing, on repeat, going nowhere, not solving, not concluding, just cycling. Researchers also found that about 85% of the things people worry about never actually happen. And of the 15% that do, most people handle them better than they expected. Your brain is running a simulation of a disaster that statistically will never arrive, and it cannot stop. So why can't it stop? And more importantly, how do you even know if you're doing it? Because here's the thing about overthinking that makes it genuinely difficult to identify. It doesn't feel like a problem from the inside. It feels like thinking. It feels necessary. It feels like due diligence. Like if you just process this a little longer, a little harder, the answer will arrive and the discomfort will finally end. But it never does. Because overthinking was never designed to find an answer. It was designed to avoid one. These are 5 signs you're doing it right now. Sign 1. You replay conversations that already ended. The conversation finished hours ago. The other person has moved on. They're eating dinner, watching something, living their life, completely unbothered by what was said. And you? You're still there. Still in it. Rewinding, replaying, editing, replaying again. This time you said it better. This time they understood. This time you didn't stumble over that one word that now feels like the only thing that defined the entire interaction. This is called post-event processing, and it's one of the most reliable signs of an overthinking brain. The original conversation took 11 minutes. The version in your head has been running for 4 hours. And here's what's important to understand, that replay serves no functional purpose. You cannot change what was said. You cannot control how it was received. The replay doesn't prepare you for anything. It doesn't resolve anything. It just keeps the emotional charge of the event alive long past its natural expiration date. The worst version of this is when you replay a conversation so many times that you start to lose track of what actually happened versus what you've imagined happening. The real words blur. The real tone blurs. And the version your brain constructed, which is always slightly more catastrophic than the original, becomes the version you remember. If you regularly find yourself conducting a full debrief on conversations that are already over, replaying, editing, wishing you'd said something different, that is sign 1. You are overthinking. Sign 2. You can't make small decisions without spiraling. Someone asks where you want to eat. Simple question. 14 restaurants come to mind. Then the variables start. Who's paying? Who has dietary restrictions? Whether this place is too far? Whether you suggested here last time and if suggesting again is annoying? Whether they actually want to go where they'll say they want to go? Whether you're being too indecisive by taking this long? Whether being indecisive is a character flaw? Whether this specific moment of indecision is proof of a larger pattern in your life? You are no longer choosing a restaurant. You are having an existential experience about a restaurant. This is one of the most under-recognized signs of overthinking because people assume it only applies to big decisions. Career changes, relationships, major life choices. But chronic overthinkers don't reserve the spiral for the big stuff. They apply it to everything, equally, with the same intensity. The lunch decision gets the same treatment as the life decision, because the overthinking brain doesn't have a volume dial. It's always at maximum. The spiral happens because the overthinker isn't actually afraid of making the wrong choice about lunch. They're afraid of what making the wrong choice would say about them. Every decision, no matter how small, feels like a referendum on who you are. Get it wrong and you've revealed something about your judgment, about your consideration of others, about your value. The lunch decision is never just a lunch decision. If tiny decisions leave you genuinely tired, if you find yourself relieved when someone else just chooses, that is sign 2. Sign 3. You prepare for conversations that may never happen. You're driving to work, and instead of listening to music or sitting in silence, your brain is running a simulation. a conversation that hasn't happened yet and may never happen. You're rehearsing, playing both parts, anticipating their response, preparing your counter, adjusting for the version where they react badly, adjusting for the version where they don't react at all. By the time you arrive, you've had a full argument with someone who doesn't know the argument exists. This is anticipatory overthinking, and it's particularly exhausting because it burns genuine mental energy on events that are entirely hypothetical. Your nervous system responds to the imagined confrontation the same way it would respond to a real one. Your heart rate goes up. Your stress hormones activate. Your body processes the fictional argument as if it's happening right now, in real time, even though the other person is sitting at their desk, completely unaware that you've already had 3 versions of this conversation in your head this morning. The deeper issue here is that this kind of preparation almost never helps. When the real conversation eventually happens, if it happens at all, it never goes the way you rehearsed. People don't follow scripts. They say something unexpected. They react differently. And all of that mental preparation, all of that energy spent, turns out to have been for a version of events that didn't exist. If you regularly hold full conversations with people who aren't there, rehearsing, preparing, anticipating, that is sign 3. Sign 4, you find hidden meaning in everything. The message came back short. 1 sentence. Usually they write more. Why was it short? Are they upset? Did you say something wrong in the last message? Did you do something wrong? You go back and read the last thing you sent 3 times. It seems fine. But then again, does it? Was that word choice off? Was the tone too casual? Too formal? Too much punctuation? Not enough? They read it. They saw it. They chose to respond with 1 sentence. This is called hypervigilance, a state of heightened alertness where the brain scans constantly for threats and finds them everywhere, in a short text, in a slightly different tone, in a look that lasted half a second too long, in a laugh that sounded different than usual. The hypervigilant brain is pattern matching at full power, and because it's looking for danger, it finds danger, even in data points that contain none. The cruel irony of this sign is that the more you look for hidden meaning, the more you find, because your brain becomes extraordinarily good at constructing narratives from fragments. A short text becomes evidence of conflict. A delayed reply becomes evidence of avoidance. Silence becomes confirmation of everything you feared. None of it is necessarily real, but it all feels completely certain. If you regularly decode other people's behavior looking for hidden signals, if a short text sends you back through the entire conversation history, that is sign 4. You are overthinking. Sign 5. You know the answer, but can't stop thinking about the question. This is the most important sign, and the most honest one, because somewhere underneath all the cycling and the replaying and the rehearsing, you already know. You already know what you need to do about the situation. You already know what the answer is. You've known for a while, but the thinking continues anyway. Why? Because the thinking isn't about finding the answer. The thinking is about avoiding the action the answer requires. This is the real function of chronic overthinking that almost nobody talks about. It creates the sensation of doing something, of working on the problem, of being responsible and thorough, while simultaneously ensuring that nothing actually changes. The brain stays in the loop, not because the loop is useful, but because stopping the loop means facing something, making a decision, having a conversation, letting something go, starting something, ending something, and that, whatever that is for you, is the thing the overthinking was built to protect you from. If you have ever caught yourself thinking, I already know what I need to do, but then you've found the exact place where your overthinking lives, not in the question, in the word after but. The identity layer. Here's what connects all 5 signs. Overthinking is not a cognitive problem. It is not a matter of intelligence or discipline or willpower. Overthinkers are frequently the most perceptive, most empathetic, most self-aware people in any room. The problem is not the quality of the thinking. The problem is what the thinking is being used for. Chronic overthinking is anxiety in disguise. It is the mind's way of creating the feeling of control in situations where it feels none. If I just think about this long enough, if I prepare well enough, analyze carefully enough, anticipate every outcome, then maybe I can protect myself from the unpredictability of other people, from the unpredictability of life, from the specific terrifying feeling of not knowing what happens next. The loop isn't broken thinking, it's protection. Expensive, exhausting, ultimately ineffective protection, but protection nonetheless. Breaking the pattern. Three things actually interrupted. First, give the thought a deadline. When you notice the loop starting, give yourself 10 minutes. Set a timer. Think about it as hard as you want for 10 minutes. When the timer ends, the thought gets filed, not solved. Filed. You're not suppressing it, you're containing it. The brain responds to limits even when it resists them. Second, ask what the thought is protecting you from. Not what are you thinking about, but what are you avoiding by thinking about it? The real answer is usually there immediately, and naming it, even just to yourself, breaks the loop's power. The loop survives on vagueness. Clarity dissolves it. Third, the one that changes things permanently. Practice tolerating uncertainty without resolving it. Most overthinking is an allergic reaction to not knowing. The discomfort of an open question triggers the loop. Building tolerance for unresolved questions, deliberately, gradually, is the only intervention that works at the root level. You don't need every question answered today. Some of them will answer themselves. Most of the disaster scenarios never arrive. And the ones that do, you will handle them. You always have. If this landed somewhere real for you, share it with someone who you know is in their head right now. They'll recognize every single one of these signs. And if you want to keep going deeper into the patterns your brain runs without your permission, stick around. There's a lot more where this came from.